They have to get down inside the 10 for a first down. Hurts takes the snap. He's back. He screens it this time. The game will, and it only goes down to the 25-yard line. I don't understand it.
Not only that, I think you just got Devontae Smith hurt on the quick screen.
30 seconds timeout.
Just not a favorite of mine, that play.
Connor again, nose down. He's in for the Cardinal touchdown. Arizona takes the lead with 32 seconds left. Hurts waiting around, lets it develop. Heaves one for the end zone. It is intercepted, and that's the game. The Cardinals come to Philadelphia and knock off the Eagles.
I just want to give all the credit to Arizona. They came out, they played. I mean, no excuse. I don't believe in no excuses, but I know that we're gonna get it. We're gonna tighten it up, and we're about to get a lot of guys back. Slade, Zach, a lot of guys. We're building towards this thing, and I believe in us. We believe in us, and at the end of the day, just gotta get through this week, get through all the stuff that's about to be said about us. It's all good because we in the postseason. It's what we do. It's what we do when it's time, when everything is on the line.
Thanks for joining on what is the first episode of Honorable Mention in 2024, and it is not under the best of circumstances, not the most fun of circumstances if you like the same team as me. I know not everybody that listens likes the same team as me, but the Philadelphia Eagles on New Year's 12/31/2023 laid a big egg. Jeff was telling me earlier that there was a bigger, Jeff Warren, of course, on the podcast today from the Philadelphia Sports Table podcast, my buddy over there. They are the longest running, continuously running Philadelphia sports podcast in the world. Jeff, you were telling me about the last day at the vet. The vet was shut down. Are we talking about the Bucks?
Yeah, we're talking about the Bucks, the NFC Championship game, which was the last game at Veterans Stadium. I believe the score, if I'm remembering it, I can't believe I'm remembering it correctly. I think it was like 27-10. It was just the offense couldn't do anything. That sounds correct.
The Rondé Barber pick six to seal it.
That's picked off, and who else? Rondé Barber, all the way, untouched, down the field. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers may ride to the Super Bowl with that one.
It was the last game of an era of a stadium that meant so much in so many ways to the Eagles fan base, the Phillies fan base, and for it to come to a close like that in the NFC Championship game, I personally think that was the biggest heartbreaker of an Eagles loss of all time.
It did not look like he could catch Rondé Barber, but you don't stop and not keep running on the play.
Number 2, Matt, was this past week against the Arizona Cardinals. It was, buddy, this was beyond a stinker. The Jets loss earlier this season was certainly a stinker. This was just more than that. This was an unraveling of a team.
Just couldn't bring it home.
Yeah.
Could not bring a win home over the finish line.
Well, I reflect on just 30, I think it was approximately 30 days ago, Matt. You've been on the Philadelphia Sports Table podcast a number of times this year. We've done some post-game shows there. Pretty upbeat in general about where this team is at and where they were going. And I was just getting ready to say approximately 30 days ago, the Eagles were 10-1. Jalen Hurts was the clear MVP favorite. They had the number 1 run defense in the NFL, number 6 overall defense in the NFL. When it came to the offense, they were the number 4 passing offense and number 4 rushing offense. That has fallen off a cliff here at this point, and it's
a different team. Is that
are
those the same guys? Are these like the Monstar on defense? Did they like the Monstars like zap these guys?
Yeah, well, and it goes to show, I think, what is happening with this team right now. I just laid out those numbers for you. Same player, much of the same players out there. Many of the same players are on the field. Guys. It is not the players. It is the coaching.
Except for Cunningham. With the exception of Cunningham, correct. Absolutely.
That is correct. And Slay has not been out there for the past several games.
2 weeks? I think
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Since the Seahawks game, because
Yeah.
that was the first game as Patricia as defensive. So 3 games. So he missed the Seahawks, Giants, and Cardinals. Anyways, keep going. Sorry.
We've had a couple issues with regard to the offensive line. Sua Opeta having to start. Landon Dickerson was back this week. Cam Jurgens, was up and down with regard to his health throughout this season. But overall, those numbers that I just threw out to you, that was approximately 30 days ago. And it's amazing what has happened with this team. I do not believe it's a player problem. I don't know if you were going to remember back in August during preseason when this team was getting ready to take the field during the regular season, the hype. Coming off a Super Bowl loss, of course, but knowing that much of the same personnel was going to be coming back to this team to perform here in 2023, 2024, this season, saying, you know what, there is a real shot to get back to that NFC Championship game because of the personnel. Yeah, certain players a little bit older here and there, but the conventional wisdom amongst this fan base was that this team is going to be able to get far in the playoffs. And right now, right after week 17, we are a very far cry from that. And it's sad to see. And it really, for me, I think comes down to the coaching. And I think with regard to Eagles Nation too, if you're reading online, various comments and things that are said, like it's not just players. It's not just players. Players are probably frustrated and rightfully so. But it really does come down to the coaching and the absolute stubbornness of these coaches to continue to employ the same scheme, the same stuff week after week. And we're seeing the results of a stubborn coaching staff that has refused to alter what is going wrong.
They did get the ball to Julio last week. I did like that they got the ball to Julio. While we ripped them on the overall, I don't think a single unit, if we were doing PST, we would do units. And I would say nobody got an A, but I would say the coaching got an F. To be able to lose that game, you have to fail the test.
Yes, absolutely. The post-game show that we ended up doing, I mean, the coaches were all Fs. Believe it or not, like I gave Jalen Hurts an A-. It's amazing that at the end of the game, he played fantastic.
There was a pick because he put it all on the line. He wanted to throw the ball in the end zone. Don't count that pick as one of these like fluke picks. This is like one of those that he was just throwing it up there for somebody to bring it down. That's not all picks are created equal.
Wesley, we're going into the half. He had a quarterback rating of like 142.8 or something like that. He was 11 of 13 for, I forget how many, 140 something yards or whatever it was. He had he had a fantastic first half, but
I think like 4 balls touched the ground. I don't think he even had any incompletions at all.
I think what we're seeing here too, and as you and I were corresponding, before you hit the record button, you watch this Eagles defense and what they continue to do, yet the coaches week to week say that they're needing to alter things, but it doesn't happen. So like say we're watching these games time and time again. You're watching a cornerback, play 10 yards off of a receiver, in zone coverage. It's 3rd and 2. And it's funny to see them continuing to do this. So you're essentially forfeiting the down at that point, And then you have, whether it's Sean Desai or Matt Patricia or Nick Sirianni is going to talk about how to get better on 3rd down, as if it's something brand new that they have to face. But then they allowed it to keep happening every single week.
They're completing 47%. You cannot see 47% of football at any level. You're going to lose.
Absolutely. And they're preaching this mastering of technique and fundamentals while enabling their players to completely ignore the technique.
It's all about execution. And the guys are being good team guys and saying it's coming down to us. We're not executing enough. But at a certain point, you do at the highest level, there is a difference between the good coaches who are scheming guys into their best positions. It makes a difference.
Absolutely. It's coaching malpractice is what we're seeing right now. It is coaching malpractice, what we're seeing. It's unbelievable, Matt. It really is. It's like, everybody is going to point. And I understand that people are going to point to results instead of looking at what really dictates long-term success with a team. And it's the process that I think us fans want to see. And we thought we had that process heading into this season. You know, they're 11-5 right now. Not a bad record. They nearly won a Super Bowl a little less than a year ago. But when every team is in a rut, what they do is they pinpoint and they go back to old accomplishments instead of looking how the process itself is working right now and how it may project into the future. So the Eagles organization, what they need to do is they need to reevaluate every single thing that they're doing from a coaching perspective here, especially with systems and especially the planning going into each week. And I know there's only one more week left in the regular season. There's going to be one playoff game. Yeah, exactly.
They could take 2 losses, but there are 2 games.
I mean, they're way past this being just a bad stretch because it's been this way, frankly, all year. And they may have played, I don't know, they may have played like 2 or 3 complete games all season. That's not good enough if you want to get through the playoffs. It's not. You can talk about old accomplishments, but that's only going to get you so far.
So how confident are you as it stands right now, just coming off it fresh? How confident are you they can go into whoever the hell's house that wins the NFC South and beat them in 2 weeks?
I'm not confident at all. I actually think they lose these next 2 games, one being the last game of the season against the Giants up at MetLife Stadium in the Meadowlands. I think they lose that game because 1, they're on the road. 2, they're just absolutely reeling right now. These players probably have no idea what is going to happen from a coaching standpoint, whether it's in-game. Is it going to stay the same? Is it going to be different than what we've seen throughout this season? And then whoever they play in the first round of the playoffs, I mean,
why is Hassan Reddick covering a slot receiver on 3rd down? Why is number 7?
Nick Sirianni, again, coaching malpractice.
Damn the play. If you're playing quarterback, you say, damn the play. You play in Matt, damn the play that we just called in the huddle. Hey, you run right here.
Yes. Exactly.
And you're going to be, because that's not what you're paying Hassan Reddick to do. That's not, he could be good at that in a sneak situation, but not there, not on a 3rd. This is why we're not getting off the field, folks.
Hassan Reddick, AJ Brown, these are blue chip players in the NFL. They're blue chip players, right? You need to maximize their talent. And at this point in the season, while things are coming off the rails, you still have to maximize their talent. On a 3rd and 20 toward the end of the game, a screen pass to Kenneth Gainwell is not maximizing the talent on the field. You know, you essentially took the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands and what he was able to do in the air when we needed it most. With regard to A.J. Brown, he converted a 3rd and 20 the week prior. Let's get the ball up to him. Hassan Reddick, who you just mentioned, again, a blue chip pass rusher. Why is he being dropped into coverage? Nick Sirianni says, well, you know, we're trying to shake things up here and there. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing what he said at today's press conference. I'm trying to shake things up here. You know, don't want to be so predictable. Really, Nick? It's not working at all. You have a blue chip player that has talents. Let him take that talent to where it needs to go.
Right. And then they didn't coach him up because the Cardinals on that last drive broke a chunk play. You know, the Eagles always talk about that the most important part of their defense is not giving up the chunk play. So the Eagles give up a chunk play. At that point in the game, you let them score. This is the least popular ism in sports right there. I let my team is going to let them score so I get more time.
Yes.
And I feel like that was a failure there as well. Not to have your guys ready in that situation to know that.
Yes, absolutely. More coaching malpractice. And it comes back to what we were talking about earlier. Just process, how the process is actually working out. Because on defense here, that they need somebody who is proven in basically squeezing blood from a stone and building around players rather than a structure. I mean, what we're looking at right now, I saw a tweet about it. I'm forgetting who it was, but where this defense is right now, it reminds me of an old Wade Phillips type of defense where you are not building around players. Rather, you're building around a scheme and structure and expecting players to do what simply you need to have them do, regardless of if they're able to do it or not. So I think from that standpoint here, it is a failure from understanding how to, again, maximize your blue chip players. And I honestly think they really need to just restructure this entire defense in the offseason and start building everything around Jalen Carter. That's what I think. And I'm already there, to be honest, Matt. I'm already there in terms of the offseason, the draft, what free agency may potentially be bringing to this team, because I really think this team is going to lose these next 2 games. There is nothing that we have seen over these past few weeks that has led me to believe that there is any sort of momentum that is going to take this team in the playoffs.
They can't beat the Falcons or the Saints?
Yes. I don't know. I thought they were going to beat the Cardinals.
I know about the divisional round weekend. You go into Santa Clara or whatever the situation may be. Sure. But they go into Atlanta and lose. I mean, you're pretty much cleaning house.
Basically. Yeah. Again, it's a process issue that they will need to address if that were to happen. But I don't trust this team as a fan. I don't trust it at all. It's incredible that we have seen the derailment simply because, again, of stubborn coaching. You know, we continue to see this. You know, again, they're preaching this mastering of technique and fundamentals, and they're enabling their players to completely ignore it out on the field, and they're not putting them into good positions either. I mean, it's the old Andy Reid adage when he said, you know, I'm not putting my players in a good position to succeed. I mean, Nick Sirianni, Sean Desai, Matt Patricia, Brian Johnson, they have not been doing that at all. It is so incredibly frustrating that we as fans, we're not coaches, we're not professional coaches, but we see it time and time again. On our post-game show this past week, you know, we were talking about the fact that San Francisco game just took the soul out of this team. They took the soul out of this Eagles team. Something happened after that game. Don't necessarily know what it was, but they just didn't have the will to continue fighting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they've lost at a certain point, having been a former athlete, not at this point, having been an athlete myself. At a certain point, there's conversations like, look, these guys don't know what the hell they're talking about. I'm about to go out here and cook tonight. If I get the ball, damn what this guy says. Like, if I don't let me get the ball on the break, I would rip the rim off, even if it's the wrong situation, to try to do it, because we don't believe in it. And I feel like it's not overall. I don't think they've lost the whole team. I think there's just situations here where I'm seeing like chips, you know, and there still is time. I mean, I guess they could certainly, you know, anything's possible. So they could certainly get things together, but it's just really, it's a quick turnaround, and it would be a big turnaround. They would have to, you know, sports psychologically, you know, I would say the sharp bettors probably are betting that the Eagles lose the next 2 games.
Yes,
I would make good money on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You're right. I don't think there's any way. Anything is possible. Anything is possible any given Sunday. That phrase, anything's possible. I didn't think the Cardinals were going to beat this team, but anything is possible. Could they, quote, turn it around? I guess. I don't know what that looks like, though. Like, it's not just a win, because they beat the Giants, and we were still not happy with what we saw as fans.
No, they're not going to get it turned around now.
Yeah,
they got to prove it in Atlanta or New Orleans or Tampa Bay, because they got to travel south. They should. They don't have those teams. We're going to be playing like it's like October. Maybe this will be helpful for the team, though, because they were playing much better then. Maybe this team.
Maybe. I love the optimism, Matt. I love the optimism. Let's keep it going.
A little road trip, you know. Go put them on the major league bus, you know, like the little one that's like. Let's not do that, though. The safety regulations, they were not. If anybody hasn't seen that movie, it's not up to snuff.
Great movie. Look, I mean, it's so clear that there is so much wrong with this team right now, and Nick Sirianni can either present an effective plan for fixing it, or he doesn't. And if he can't, do they keep him? That's really I think where this team is at right now. And I really don't.
Coach of the year to fired. You could do that in the NFL,
dude. I think I think with this Eagles organization, we have seen a lot of ups and downs over these years. I mean, go back to 2017 when they were on top of the world. They had their quarterback of the future who ended up not being their quarterback of the future because he couldn't get his head right after his ACL injury and after Jalen Hurts was drafted. You know, they gave a huge contract to Wentz, and then it just all went haywire. I feel like they sort of lucked into Jalen Hurts because of the type of player he is and the type of maturity that he has. And now we're here.
And the leadership vacuum that was created.
Absolutely. Last season, Matt, you and I talked. We're like, my gosh, they have the quarterback of the future. He's going to be here for at least 5 years, and he's just going to be killing it. Now look where they're at, where even Jalen Hurts likely is going home, just throwing his hands up saying, I just don't know. I just don't know why they have me on 3rd and 15 doing a quarterback draw and there's no blockers in front of me.
well I was glad to see that they got Julio Jones the damn ball, because I mean, if I'm Julio Jones, the way that they've used him to this point until today, until after this show, it's unbelievable, because he has been, you talk about vacuums, for the type of player that he is, that big body, big catch radius, strong hands, strong soft hands. It's exactly what the doctor ordered, and they've been pushing the ball to Calcaterra and stuff like that. I'm just so confused watching this team. Yes. So we'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
And another thing is, like, as much as we want to blame the head coach, because the head coach is supposed to get the players in position to win, right? They make plays. I get that. But some of the stuff I'm watching, like you showing gap responsibility. That's something you've been doing for years, right? I'm a running back. I mean, obviously I did a tremendous, job playing, but I know that the gap, he has this gap, like those small things, right? And then even on the third downs, it's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4. Why are we playing off? Like, I don't care what the coach is saying, right? I know better. If it's 3rd and 1 and it's a running play and my normal split is at 8 yards in the backfield, I'm gonna move up because I just know better.
All right, Jeff, we just got back from talking a lot of, it is not the most optimistic of times for Philadelphia Eagles fans, which is fine. No. A lot of teams like to watch the Eagles in pain and enjoy. So
exactly. If you're one of them, enjoy it now, folks. It's a great time for you.
Yeah. Well, it's like Nirvana. Absolutely. Yes. So let's get into some of these Week 18 picks. A lot of important football left. Texans at Colts. Colts are favored by 1 point in this game.
Yes,
and it's for the 7th spot in the AFC. Who do you got in this one?
It's at Indianapolis. I'm going with the Texans. I'm going with the Texans on this one.
Falcons at Saints. This is with Atlanta's playoff hopes on the line. 3.5 point. The Saints are getting 3.5.
I'm actually going to go with the Saints here. I'm going to go with the Saints. I think home field advantage is so important this year. I think I mentioned it to you one of the last times I was talking with you on the Honorable Mention podcast here. And I think in particularly with regard to the AFC South, I think home field is going to be really key. I'm going with the Saints.
The Bucks at Panthers. So the other end of that, the Bucks win this, they're in. It's a win and in situation for them. Do they cash and render the other game null and void, basically?
Absolutely. Bryce Young stinks, or at least his offensive line stinks. My gosh, in this past week,
combination.
Horrendous. It's going to be a Bucks victory for sure. They may be facing the Philadelphia Eagles.
That'll be interesting. Talk about, visions of 2002 with the Rondé Barber.
Yes. Yep.
Rams at Niners. Niners are 3.5 point favorites in this one. This one would have mattered for the number 1 seed, but it may just matter for just wanting to whoop up on a potential foe in the future. Who you got in this one?
Yeah, I'm thinking the Niners are going to win this game. As surprising as the Rams have been in terms of their play and what Sean McVay has been able to do for that team and getting them to where they're at right now, 49ers, I think, are just really unstoppable, and especially if Christian McCaffrey is healthy. And I don't necessarily put what their offensive success is on Brock Purdy. It's mostly Christian McCaffrey, man. When he is healthy and he is going full steam ahead, there's virtually nobody in the NFL that that can beat that team. So I'm going with the Niners.
I feel like at some point here, if it's close late, I feel like they might just pull. I feel like the Rams are going to pull this off because there's some combination of the Niners don't really need it, and the Rams just really want it more than they do. Like,
it's a good thought. Yeah.
For some reason, it's given Rams to me. Cowboys are 13.5-point favorites in this one. This one, if they're able to flub this one, they're probably not. The Eagles could win the NFC East still and give the Eagles a little more reason for optimism heading in. That would
please don't give me positive vibes. Please don't give me positive
interesting
vibes.
Turn of events. Because I feel like it would be like the wrong reinforcement. Kind of at a certain point right now, I kind of feel like they need to eat the vegetables.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the only way that things can get better.
Absolutely. It's a great phrase. A great way to look at it too. I mean, I do think the Cowboys are going to end up winning. You look at the season that they have had, you look at their opponent right here with the Commanders, a team that has been floundering throughout the season. You don't know who's going to necessarily be their quarterback. I mean,
they're
it's probably
up too.
Yeah. It's
they're
just
packing that place up.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I do think it's going to be the Cowboys that end up winning. Could I see maybe a 5% chance that the Commanders win that game? Yeah, sure. Why not? Maybe seriously, maybe at halftime they take all the Dallas Cowboys starters out, and that there may be some sort of a way for the Commanders to stay in the game. But I think it's going to be a Cowboys victory.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know this because I'm not not as close to the situation and for the Commanders as I am with the Birds, but I don't know if there's that will, and just watching it as a casual fan of that team, I don't know if there's that will to just go win one for the Gipper either. If you had a situation where you had a beloved coach and it's the hated Cowboys, and it's one thing. I mean, as Charles Barkley said, this might be 1, 2, 3 Cancun. So
yeah. I think so. I do. I think so.
Well, for the division, AFC East, interesting. You got the Bills 3-point favorites going into Miami for the division and the season sweep.
I think losing Chubb is going to be really, really big for that Dolphins defense, man. I think that is really, really big. We talked about blue chip talents earlier. Like, he is an incredible talent for that defense. Not having him, I think, is going to be rough. The Bills just have a lot of momentum right now. They have a lot of momentum. They have a great storyline. And I think that you've seen Miami flubbing here and there. And I know I was talking about home field advantage earlier, but I think momentum is so key at this point in time in the season, in this regular season. So I'm actually going to go with the Bills here. I think the Bills are going to win.
Me too. Absolutely. And I think I might look at some things and see what the spreads are looking like. I may or may not.
Get that FanDuel app up, huh?
Well, I'll just look at it. I just give it
not sponsored, by the way.
An inspection. No.
Yeah.
I'll just inspect it. Yeah.
Right.
I'll just the Eagles are getting the Eagles are 5.5-point favorites at the Giants. Who you got there?
It's ridiculous that they're 5.5-point favorites.
When I wrote this down, I'm like, how's this real?
I go back to our Philadelphia.
I give them 3.
Table.
I would give them 3.
I might give them 1. I'm serious. I mean, I just go back to the Opposition Territory podcast we did this past week with former Eagles player and Falcons player Ed Smith, and Ed and I are talking about how this Cardinals team is just absolutely horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. The worst defense in the league, an offensive line that doesn't know their way around the scheme, and Kyler Murray running for his life all the time, coming off an injury. And this team came into Philadelphia and won. The worst defense in the league. So I do not have confidence at all that the Eagles can actually pull this off, regardless of what the actual spread is. I think the Giants win this game. I really do. I do not believe that, based on what we're seeing with the Philadelphia Eagles right now, that they're going to end up winning this game. I don't believe it.
Oof. Do you think that's based on a little bit of 1-2-3 Cancun from the Eagles? Once they get into a tight third quarter, they might, maybe not totally check out and pull the starters, but guys not selling out, and it just lead to. Is that how you see that happening?
I think that the players are going to want to see how the coaches are going to strategically put them into certain situations within the game this week. And I think, whether it is AJ, whether it's Dallas Goedert, for God's sake, or even the offensive line out there who's really been playing well. The offensive line has been playing well.
They were rolling in the Giants game.
Absolutely. Even this past week, like Jalen Hurts, week after week here, we've been seeing him the past several weeks actually really stepping up in the pocket. Those dramatic pocket presence improvements from him. The offense has been doing really well, I think, outside of certain decision-making at the end of the game. Right. But I think if the players are seeing that the coaches are not being as stubborn as they have been, then you know what? Maybe the Eagles do have a chance here. Maybe they do. And if the coaches can get out of their way, because look, this offense this past week against the Cardinals, Matt, how many times did we say it before when we were talking? The players were doing what they were doing on the field to spite the coaches throughout this season. We've said it many times. And I think maybe if the players are able to do what they do from a talent perspective to spite the coaches, then maybe they do win this game. But I'm not going to hold my breath here.
Yeah. In my mind, I'm thinking if I had to give Jalen a grade for the 2023 season, I'm in my mind is in somewhere between B and B plus. What about you?
Yeah, B. I would give him a B because they have put him in some bad situations. He has certainly made some poor decisions, but I think he's learned. He's continuing to learn. I think a lot of defenses have figured out certain aspects of this Eagles offense, how they maneuver him throughout the course of a game. A lot of the plays that we saw last year are the same exact plays that we're seeing this year as well. The creativity of the offense has not been there, so he has had to improvise to an extent as well. The coaching staff has not helped Jalen Hurts very much at all this season. I would give him a B.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you all for listening. This is obviously not the most optimistic of episodes, but thank you so much, Jeff, for making time.
Always love talking to you, buddy.
Absolutely. Where can people follow along and listen to your podcast? You and your buddies, you guys have a great podcast. Said it's the longest running, continuously running podcast. I listen over on Apple Podcasts. But
I appreciate it.
Where can people check you out at?
Yeah, you just said Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify, but PhiladelphiaSportsTable.com. That's where you can get all our shows. We have all of them uploaded over there. Again, PhiladelphiaSportsTable.com. And Matt, man, it is always great talking to you. Whether you're coming on my podcast.
But you shouted out Spotify again. I shouted.
Oh, did I just do that? Damn it! I just did that. Damn! I can't stand that. Oh man, I just shouted about it.
Bad habit.
It is. It is. Yeah, look, I've been doing this over 10 and a half years, It's like the speech stuff, it just comes out. It comes out. I gotta rewire my
elevator
brain here.
pitch. Yes. Yeah, you gotta rewire the elevator pitch for the but thank you so much, Jeff.
It's an honor, buddy.
Always great to hang out and talk.
Absolutely.
Even when they stink. They really stink.
They really stink right now. It's great coming on Honorable Mention and talk about it with you.
There are some unknowns about the game with Dallas and Washington, and we got to start. We got to play. We got to play and coach good football too. And so, and then to be able to go into the playoffs again, I'm just answering your question. Not that I'm thinking too far ahead of that, but to go into the playoffs not in a run.